A man runs down a mountain in the dark. He is 40 years old. He is not a prophet, not yet. He is a merchant, respected, married, unremarkable. Moments ago, he was alone in a cave. Now his whole body is shaking, his heart slamming against his ribs, and when he finally reaches home, the only words he can force out of his mouth are these: "Cover me, cover me." This is the first moment of Islam, not a triumph, not a sermon from a mountaintop. A man trembling under a blanket, terrified of what he has just seen. The man is Muhammad. The mountain is Hira, outside Mecca, and the story of what happened in that cave, and, more than that, how he reacted to it, is not the story most people expect. Once you understand his fear, you will never look at this faith the same way again. The year is around 610 of the Common Era. Mecca is a dusty trading city in the heart of Arabia, ringed by bare mountains, ruled by tribes and crowded with gods. By tradition, 360 idols stood around a cube-shaped shrine called the Kaaba. Into this world, Muhammad ibn Abdullah had been born some 40 years before. Orphaned as a child, raised by an uncle, and known among his people by a single nickname, Al-Amin, the trustworthy. He was married to Khadija, a widow and a successful merchant, older than him, and by every account his closest friend and confidant. For years he had felt a quiet unease with the noise, the idols, and the injustice of the city. So he began to withdraw. Each year, during the month the Arabs called Ramadan, he climbed a peak the locals named Jabal al-Nuur, the Mountain of Light, and sat alone in a narrow cave called Hira. He prayed, he reflected, he waited, though he could not have said for what. It was on one of those solitary nights, the sources say, that it came. The earliest surviving biography of the Prophet, written by Ibn Ishaq in the 8th century, and the great hadith collection of al-Bukhari. Both preserve the account. Much of it traced back to Muhammad's own wife, Aisha, who heard it from him directly. A presence filled the darkness of the cave. It was the angel Jibril, Gabriel, the same messenger the Christians and the Jews already knew from their scriptures. And the angel gave a single command: Iqra, read, recite. Muhammad's answer was not faith, it was confusion. Ma ana bi qari, he said, I am not a reader, I cannot read. He was by tradition unlettered. The angel did not explain. Instead, according to the narration, it seized him and pressed him, embraced him so tightly that he thought he would die, then let him go, and repeated the command. Read. Again the man protested that he could not. Again he was pressed until he could bear no more. 3 times this happened in the dark. On the 3rd release came the words that would one day open the 96th chapter of the Quran. Read in the name of your Lord, who created man from a clinging clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know. 5 short lines. The first words: Muslims believe that God spoke to humanity through Muhammad. And notice what they were about. Not war, not conquest, not even worship. They were about reading, about the pen, about knowledge, a command to learn, given to a man who could not read a word. But here is the part the polished retellings so often skip. Muhammad did not walk down that mountain, glowing with certainty. He fled it in terror. The verses left him shaking to the bone. He did not think, I am a prophet. He thought he was losing his mind, or worse, that he had been touched by a jinn, one of the unseen spirits the Arabs feared. Some narrations say the fear was so total that he thought of throwing himself from the mountain's edge to make it stop. He stumbled home to Khadija, and the words he cried out at the door were not a proclamation of anything. They were the plea of a frightened human being. Zamiluni, Zamiluni, cover me, wrap me up. And she did. She threw a cloak over him and held him until the shaking eased. What Khadija did next mattered as much as anything that happened in the cave. She did not laugh at him. She did not call him mad. By the account preserved in al-Bukhari, she told him that God would never disgrace him, for he was a man who kept the ties of kinship, carried the burdens of the weak, and stood by the truth. Then she took him to her elderly cousin, a man named Waraka ibn Nawfal, a Christian who had studied the scriptures and translated parts of the gospel into Arabic. Waraka listened to the whole account in silence. Then, he said something that turned the night on its head. This was the same great angel, he said, that had once come to Moses, and he added a warning that Muhammad's own people would one day drive him out. Driven out? The stunned man asked. By my own people. We tend to imagine the founders of religions as figures of unshakable confidence, men who seized authority and never once doubted. But the historical record of Islam's first moment shows almost the opposite. Muhammad's first response to revelation was not to preach it. It was to fear it, to doubt his own sanity, and to be comforted by his wife under a blanket. The scholar, Karen Armstrong, has argued that this very reluctance is part of what made those closest to him believe him. A man inventing a religion to gain power does not begin by running down a mountain in terror, begging to be hidden from the world. For roughly 3 years, tradition holds. He told almost no one beyond his own household. There was no army, there was no empire, there was no call to conquest. Only a shaken man, a steady wife, and 5 lines about a pen. The faith that would one day reach more than 1 billion people did not begin in strength. It began in trembling. That cry from the cave never really disappeared. 2 chapters of the Quran open by addressing the Prophet exactly as he was in that moment. Al-Muzammil, the wrapped one, and Al-Mudaththir, the cloaked one, the man who asked to be covered. Every time those chapters are recited, in a mosque in Cairo, or an apartment in London, or a quiet room somewhere at dawn, the words reach back to that trembling night on the mountain of light. And the very first word the angel spoke, Iqra, read, is still the first word millions of children learn when they open the Quran for the first time. The fear and the command have both outlived every empire that rose and fell after them. He was a merchant who could not read, alone on a mountain, so frightened by what he had heard that he begged to be hidden from the world. He did not want to be chosen. He did not feel worthy of it. And out of that fear, not out of confidence, not out of ambition, came a recitation that would be memorized, letter for letter, by more human beings than any other book ever written. The first prophet of Islam did not begin by conquering anything at all. He began shaking beneath a cloak, whispering the only words he had left. Cover me.